Please don't hurt me. I can't walk, the CEO cried. Then the single dad revealed himself. The chandelier glittered above the ballroom, scattering light across the elegant crowd. Music floated softly, but for most of the guests, the night was about appearances, not genuine connections. Sophia Bennett, CEO of a tech empire at just 28, usually thrived in this world of power and prestige. Tonight, however, was different. As she maneuvered her wheelchair toward the center of the room, a careless server bumped into her. Her drink wobbled dangerously, her hands gripping the armrests tightly. Please don't hurt me. I can't walk, she whispered, a twinge of fear in her eyes that no wealth or influence could erase. Most guests glanced, then turned away. They didn't know how to react to vulnerability in someone like Sophia, someone they saw only as untouchable. But then a hand reached out, strong, steady. It's okay. You're safe, said a man crouching beside her. He was unassuming at first glance, a single dad, scruffy but kind, with eyes that carried both weariness and warmth. His name was Daniel, and he worked in the catering crew, delivering food and clearing plates without ever drawing attention. Why are you helping me? Sophia asked, startled. In her world, strangers rarely offered help without a motive. Daniel smiled gently. Because I know what it's like to need someone and feel invisible. He guided her away from the crowd, navigating effortlessly around clinking glasses and swaying dancers. Sophia's heart raced, not from fear anymore, but from an unfamiliar warmth. In a world where everyone chased ambition, here was someone who simply cared. As they reached the balcony, the city lights twinkled below, far from the shallow chatter inside. Sophia looked at him, really looked, and realized that her carefully curated life had left her isolated, desperate for human connection. You don't even know me, she said softly. Maybe, Daniel replied, leaning against the railing. But I know what it feels like to be overlooked, to be underestimated, and you deserve to feel safe, even if just for tonight. A sudden commotion inside the ballroom made Sophia flinch. One of the guests had mocked her disability, assuming she couldn't hear the snide comments. Daniel immediately stood in front of her, shielding her from the crowd with his presence. For a moment, it wasn't about status or power. It was about compassion, protection, and simple humanity. Something shifted in Sophia. She realized that kindness didn't come from wealth or influence. It came from heart, and sometimes those hearts were hidden in the most unexpected places. By the end of the night, Sophia had invited Daniel to stay for dessert. They laughed over chocolate mousse and shared stories neither had told anyone else. For the first time in years, Sophia felt seen, not as a CEO, but as a person. As she watched him leave, she whispered, "Thank you for reminding me what truly matters." Daniel only smiled. Sometimes the world just needs a little courage to show kindness. You reminded me too. And in that fleeting moment, two strangers, one powerful, one humble, discovered that genuine human connection could be more valuable than anything money could buy. The next morning, Sophia couldn't shake the memory of Daniel's quiet courage. Her office, usually filled with ringing phones and endless meetings, felt emptier than ever. Yet, for the first time in years, she felt something else: hope. She called the catering company, asking for Daniel by name. When he arrived, carrying a small box of pastries for the office, their eyes met again. Sophia smiled, a mixture of nervousness and gratitude. "I wanted to thank you properly," she said, her voice softer than usual. "Not just for last night, but for reminding me that people matter more than power." Daniel laughed, scratching the back of his head. "I didn't do anything special, I just treated you like a human being." "But that's exactly it," Sophia replied, her eyes glistening. "In a world where everyone wants something, you gave me nothing but kindness. That's rare." Over the next few weeks, Daniel became a surprising presence in Sophia's life. He helped her navigate the challenges of her disability. Yes, but more importantly, he reminded her to slow down, to see the world through empathy rather than ambition. Then, one afternoon, Sophia invited him to a company event, not as a guest, but as a valued contributor. She publicly acknowledged his act of courage, the moment that had humbled her and reshaped her outlook. The room, usually buzzing with shallow applause for quarterly successes, fell silent. And then for the first time it erupted in genuine appreciation. Daniel blushed, waving it off, but Sophia persisted. "This is the kind of leadership we all need," she said. "Not titles or money, but compassion, courage, and integrity." And that's exactly what Daniel showed me. Months later, their bond grew. Not romantic at first, but a partnership built on respect and mutual understanding. Sophia learned to lean on others without guilt. Daniel discovered that helping someone didn't mean losing himself. It meant creating ripples of humanity that could change lives. One evening, watching the sunset from Sophia's apartment balcony, she turned to him and said, "You've changed me, Daniel. Not because you wanted to, but because you simply were there." Daniel smiled softly. "Sometimes being there is enough. That's all anyone really needs." Sophia nodded, the city lights sparkling below them like tiny stars. She realized that life's greatest wealth wasn't in her empire. It was in these moments of genuine connection, acts of kindness and hearts willing to see one another. And in that quiet, shared understanding, they both knew the world could be harsh, but compassion, even from a stranger, could make it beautifully human. The days that followed were quiet, yet profoundly different for Sophia. Her empire continued to run smoothly, but for the first time, she noticed the small moments she had always ignored. The laughter of a child outside her office window. The subtle kindness of colleagues who had gone unnoticed in her busy life. Daniel visited often, not as an employee or guest, but as a friend who refused to let her forget that life could still surprise her. One afternoon, he arrived with a small package, a notebook filled with sketches and little handwritten notes. "I thought you might like to see this," he said, smiling gently. "I've been sketching the city from different angles, places you rarely get to see from a wheelchair." Sophia flipped through the pages, astonished by the detail and perspective. Each sketch carried warmth, empathy, and patience. "Daniel, these are incredible. You see the world in a way I've never learned to," she whispered, her eyes moist. He shrugged, a playful smile on his face. "I just pay attention. That's all it takes sometimes, to notice the small things that make life beautiful." Weeks later, Sophia decided to take a bold step. At a company event, she publicly acknowledged Daniel's quiet courage. The room, typically filled with applause for quarterly profits, erupted in genuine appreciation for someone who had reminded them of the value of humanity. Daniel blushed, unaccustomed to praise, but Sophia's eyes were sincere. "Leadership," she said, "isn't about titles, money, or recognition. It's about empathy, courage, and kindness. Daniel has shown me all three." From that day on, their lives intertwined in a way neither expected. Sophia found joy in slowing down, appreciating the world through Daniel's thoughtful perspective. Daniel discovered the power of compassion to inspire even those who seemed untouchable. One evening, they returned to the balcony that had witnessed their first shared moment of trust. The city lights sparkled beneath them, quiet but alive, reflecting the transformation within both of them. "I never thought a stranger could change my life," Sophia said softly. Daniel smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to care." They sat together, side by side, watching the skyline, understanding that true connection, selfless, human, and compassionate, was far more valuable than any empire. And in that moment, they both knew the world could be harsh, but kindness, courage, and humanity would always leave a lasting light.